Fiona's going to be delivering our presentation today. The presentation is just to help you find out more about apprenticeships, what options are available to you as university students or graduates, and get your apprenticeship questions answered. We'll also give you a brief insight into our event, the Leeds Apprenticeship Recruitment Fair, what it is and how it can be a useful experience for you too. So the session is an hour long, it runs till 12. And I'm going to just pass you over to Fiona, who will be delivering about a 40-minute presentation. And then there'll be a 15-minute dedicated Q&A time at the end. We ask that you generally save your questions till the end. And when you want to ask them, you can either use the chat feature on the side or put your little hand up, which you can just do by pressing the raise hand button at the top. So thank you so much again for joining us and for listening to my little speech there. And if you're ready, Fiona.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather. Thank you everyone for being here today. I really appreciate your time. My name's Fiona Naylor, Employment and Skills Officer at Leeds Apprenticeship Hub. I'm really glad that you're all here today to hear about what apprenticeships are and why they're relevant to you as undergraduate students. I've also been a university student and I didn't appreciate just exactly what apprenticeships were until I left university and worked for a training provider, and I'm really happy to share all of that knowledge with you today. So we'll go through a quick overview about what you're going to get from this session. So I'll cover some facts about apprenticeships and hopefully dispel some myths. I'll go over the different types of levels and the wages expectations. Then following on from that, how you can choose an apprenticeship and the different industries that you can go into. We'll cover the benefits of apprenticeships and the various career pathways that they can take you on. Then we'll have a quick how to find out even more information so you can go away and do some research in your own time. And then we're also going to cover LARF 23, also known as Leeds Apprenticeship Recruitment Fair, which is on Monday the 6th of February at the First Direct Arena in Leeds between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. So let's start off with what is an apprenticeship. You may already have some preconceived notions about what an apprenticeship is. So I want to, like I say, dispel some of those myths. An apprenticeship is a job with training, and it's a real job with some real wages and relevant training. And the training is work related to that job. So it's a regular job, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and you get paid. You get paid to do the work and you get paid to do the training. And with regards to the training, there's no fee. You don't have to pay for any of that training that you get during your apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is a minimum of 6 hours per week where you'll do your training. You might have heard people talking about 20% off the job training. There's been a slight change at the end of last year now to be inclusive to everyone who's working a variety of hours. So it's going to be a minimum of 6 hours a week, and it still equates to roughly 1 day a week. That can either be the entire day that's blocked out or blocks of hours throughout your working week, depending on what apprenticeship you're doing and who you're working for. So the apprenticeship levels go all the way from a level 2 up to a level 7. And in real terms, that means from GCSE equivalent all the way up to your master's. Now, this blew my mind when I found this out because I was considering going back to university to do my master's. And then I realised that I could do it as an apprentice. So this is why obviously we're here today to discuss those higher and degree level apprenticeships, which are going to be more relevant to everyone that's here today. So the length of time that it takes to complete an apprenticeship varies on whatever apprenticeship training that you're doing. Some of them are as short as 18 months, some of them as long as 60 months of training, whereas with a degree, you can be pretty much sure that you're going to be there for 3 years doing your degree and then 1 year's doing a master's. With this, it completely depends on what training programme it is that you're completing. And apprenticeships are for anyone. They're not only for school leavers, they're for anyone at any age and at any stage in your career as well. which obviously is why we're all here today. So let's move on to the apprenticeship levels. As I'd mentioned, these levels go all the way through from level 2, the intermediate ones, all the way through to degree levels. So what this means then, if, for example, you were to start on with a level 3 apprenticeship or someone that you knew, that's the equivalent of doing 2 A levels. And then if you're going to move on to your level 4 or 5, that's your HNC, your HND, and then level 6 is your degree level qualification. And then your level 7 that's the equivalent to your master's then. And you can do any level at any time. So for example, you might finish your university degree, you've got a level 6 qualification, you might decide to carry on in that field and progress with your learning and do a level 7. So that's the equivalent of doing your master's. Or if you've had a change of idea about what you want to do, or you want to learn something new that could complement what you're already doing, then you might look at doing a level 3 apprenticeship, as long as it's not in the same field. But we can go through that in a couple of other slides. So I'll just pop on to the next one. So here's an explanation of the higher and degree apprenticeships in a little bit more detail. So your level 4, which is the equivalent to your HNC really, your first year of your degree. So these are equivalent to your foundations, your degrees, and then your masters, as I've said. And your degree apprenticeships, those are the ones that are available at level 6 and level 7. So level 6 is your degree, your level 7's equivalent to your master's. And these are combining the work that you'd be doing in your job with the study that's relevant to your job. So it's going to be work-based, combined qualifications that are all relevant, and there may be some professional qualifications relevant to that industry as well. So if you wanted to do a job and say you wanted to be a software developer, for example, you would be doing real life projects, and your studying would be relevant to that, so that as you're learning on the job, you're also learning with the training that you're getting as well to complement each other, and you get to work on real life projects as well. So everything's relevant, the training is relevant, it's relevant to the job, and what you're learning in the job is going to be relevant to that industry that you're working in. So as I'd mentioned, the higher and degree apprenticeships, they can take anywhere between 18 months. Some of them as short as 12. The shortest apprenticeship you can do is 12 months. There's not really many that are at that, but you can do them in 1 year, and they can take as long as 5 years to complete. And this could be studying at college, at university, or through a training provider. So some apprenticeships are provided by colleges, by universities, especially the degree apprenticeships or training providers. And what your training looks like, again, it depends on the provider, and it depends on the apprenticeship that you're doing. Some training is wholly online. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do it at your place of work. You can do it perhaps if you work at home, then you can do it on your at-home day. Some providers or universities have 1 day a week where you physically go in to their training facilities, and others it might be block time of learning. So you might go in for a week at a time throughout the length of your programme. Now, the entry requirements for an apprentice, they completely depend really on the employer and to a certain extent on what the actual apprenticeship is. Some apprenticeships, even the higher level apprenticeships, you might not even necessarily need, for example, your GCSEs in English and maths, because a lot of providers are trying to break down barriers for people to move into apprenticeships. So you possibly, if you're at university, you've already got your English, for example, but you might not necessarily have your maths GCSE if that's not relevant to what you're doing at university. But there'll be opportunities if, say, you didn't have it, to do your maths and functional skills. And with regards to the entry requirements, sometimes it can be that you perhaps need your A levels, which again, there's a possibility that you've already got A levels if you're at this stage at university, and not necessarily any sort of qualifications relating to it, but what employers are looking for is that you've got a passion for what you're about to enter into, because an apprenticeship isn't something that should be entered into lightly. Much the same as you'll have made a big decision on which university to go to and which course to take. It's the same with an apprenticeship. Have a really good think about, is this what I want to do, and is it going to help me with my career pathway? And if you can show that you've got a passion for that and an interest for that, then that's oftentimes going to be more useful and advantageous for you than perhaps actual relevant qualifications at this time. But I can show you where to find the information. We're going to cover that in a later slide. So the individual employers, they identify any relevant requirements that they need, as mentioned down there, but they're going to ultimately be looking for a candidate who's got the transferable skills that are essential and key, because anyone can be taught anything, but not everyone wants to be taught something. So again, we'll cover this in some later slides. Now, with regards to the type of apprenticeships that are out there, I used to have the preconceived notion that apprenticeships were for school leavers that wanted to go into traditional roles like plumbing and bricklaying, etc. But these are just some of the recently developed apprenticeships that we've got, all the way from level 4 sports coach up to a level 7 doctorate degree. This was approved quite recently, and as you can see, there's lots and lots of things in between here. So there's really, the sky's the limit when it comes to apprenticeships, and it comes to your career pathway and choosing an apprenticeship to continue that learning journey with your career. Midwifery, for example, I was speaking to someone just last week who said that they wanted to go to university as a midwife, and we went through a website, which I'm going to show you later, just so she had another option to consider what pathway she wanted to go down, because this is an option for everyone now. I'm sure many of you might be thinking about the type of salary that you could get as an apprentice. As I'd said, apprenticeships they're no longer for people that want to finish school and go into traditional roles. So I've given a quick overview here of the different types of wages that you can expect. These are all government set wages with the minimum wage. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, because if you're at university, I've got no doubt some of you might be working as baristas, some of you might be working at supermarkets. So where you're at a supermarket and you might be on the minimum wage for your age group, or depending on who you're working for, your minimum wage might be just set to a flat £10.42. If you're at university and you're studying all day, and then you're going to work at Starbucks or Sainsbury's, for example, in the evening, and you may be working 12 hours a week, then you're probably bringing in somewhere around £120, £130 a week. With an apprenticeship, even if you're on a minimum wage as an apprentice, then you'll be working a roughly 37 hours a week. So you're going to be bringing in 3 times that amount. And then when you've finished your work day, you don't have to then go to Starbucks or Sainsbury's or Tesco or whatever you're working to continue on with another job, because it will be done for the day. So you've done your work, you've done your learning, all in the one package, and you've got paid for it. Now, depending on the company, because apprenticeships are jobs at the end of the day, it completely depends on what the employer wants to pay. When I've seen some employers paying the minimum apprenticeship wage of, from April 23, it's going to be £5.28 an hour. If an employer is paying that, after 1 year in your apprenticeship, you have to be paid the minimum for your age bracket. So say you're age 22, you go into an apprenticeship, you're getting paid £5.28 per hour for that first year of training, and you're doing maybe a 2-year apprenticeship. Well, after your initial 12 months, you would then have to jump into the minimum wage bracket for your age. So if you're still 22, you would automatically then start getting paid £10.18 an hour, and then 23 plus £10.42. Again, it really depends on the employer. Some employers that are paying people that are doing a level 4 apprenticeship £10–11 per hour. Some are paying a little bit less for that. And when you're deciding what apprenticeship you want to do and who you want to work for, as with any job, you've got to weigh up whether or not you feel that that's really worth it. I used to work for a training provider, and we could never tell employers what to pay, but we would certainly always encourage employers to pay a little bit more, because after all, you're coming with a really good knowledge and skill set already, and you're going to be coming with some transferable skills that are invaluable to the workplace. So do bear that in mind, that as with any job, there can still be a little bit of negotiation going on, but do rest assured that if you did start an apprenticeship on the minimum apprenticeship wage as set by the government, after 12 months, you would have to go on to the minimum wage for your age group. So I'll move on to some salary examples as well, just to give you an idea of how much you could possibly get. So these were taken this year from the government website, Find an Apprenticeship. It's just to give you a really quick idea and overview of how much you could actually expect to earn whilst you're learning. So we've got HSBC, for example, offering a wealth and personal banking apprenticeship at level 6. So there's your degree apprenticeship. Now they're offering up to just over 17,000, and it might not sound like a great deal especially if you're thinking, well, I'm going to be doing a level 6. I'm going to be working full time. I've got my rent to pay, etc. But you've also got to think about the long-term benefits of working for somewhere like HSBC and where that's going to lead you and your career path, and having the discussions with employers to say what's the progression within this company once I've finished. You've got here down at the bottom, if you were to apply for an NHS apprentice as a radiographer, again, it's a degree apprenticeship, you can get up to £33,000, which is absolutely tremendous. Again, it just depends on who your employer is and how much they want to pay, and if you want to balance that out. So you've creative digital design degree apprentice at a level 6 is only paying 14,000, which is, I think that's at the current minimum wage, if doing a bit quick maths. So again, you would have to decide on weighing that up. Is the career progression worth it for me doing this? Because you're not paying for your training. So that's your actual wage. And then you've got to think, all the training that you're getting on top of that, is that going to be worth it on balance? And how long is it going to take me? And also do remember that apprenticeship minimum wage is going to go up to your wage bracket after 12 months as well. So these are all things to think about when you're considering who you want to work for and what apprenticeship that you want to do, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're getting paid for a job and you don't have any student debt at the end of it. So let's pop along to the next slide, which is choosing your apprenticeship as a graduate. So if you perhaps might be considering, after you finished university, doing another degree, or perhaps moving on and doing your master's, you can continue to apply to do another degree, or apply at the university to do your master's, but also keep an eye out for any apprenticeship vacancies that might be coming along. Much the same as when you were applying at university, you might have applied for a few different universities. Be applying for the apprenticeships as well at the same time, so that if you get offered an apprenticeship and perhaps you get offered a place at university doing your master's, if you've got those two options, that's better than having the one, because then you really do have those options there. If you were considering doing another degree, it's worth bearing in mind that in the UK, you can do another degree, but you wouldn't be able to apply for a student loan for it. Unlike if you were progressing and doing a master's, you would be able to apply to Student Loans England to get a student loan for that master's. Whereas if you did an apprenticeship, for example, if you wanted to do another degree but as an apprentice, as long as it's not in the same subject field, then the training would be paid for. Or if you wanted to progress and do your master's, again, if it's an apprenticeship, then all that training will already be funded. Now, the apprenticeship schemes, when they start, they don't follow the same intake dates as the universities. It depends on who is running the apprenticeship, when they have intakes throughout the year. Sometimes you might find that if it's a university that's providing it, they might have 1 or 2 intakes throughout the year, possibly not dissimilar to regular university students. Training providers might have a few intakes throughout the year. They might have 4 or 5 different dates throughout the year, and the same with colleges. Some training providers do like rolling cohorts, so they're always taking people on all the time, and you don't have a time period where you have to wait for when an apprenticeship is going to start. So, for example, you could apply for an apprenticeship in the springtime and start seeing that there is opportunities out there. You put your application in, and you could possibly get accepted onto an apprenticeship scheme that your employment might start then and there, or it might start a few months down the line, and then your actual training might start at a later date. So, for example, really large companies that have lots and lots of apprenticeships that they take on, they might have 1 or 2 intake dates per year. And these are the type of companies that come along to Leeds Apprenticeship Recruitment Fair. Even though it's in February, they might not start their degree apprenticeships until September or October. So they'll want to speak to you now. They'll might want to interview you in the next month. And then they might want to start your employment either in September or possibly even a few months before. Many apprentices, when they start their employment, there's normally a time period of possibly between 2 weeks, 2 or 3 months before they actually start their training. And that gives you a time to get bedded into the company and do the onboarding, especially with really large organisations that have got a lot of onboarding and processes to go through with you. But again, this completely depends on who's actually running the apprenticeship scheme. And as I've mentioned, one of my later slides is going to show you where you can find out these types of information. The apprenticeships are competitive because they're not an easy option. So there are a limited number of apprenticeships because they are jobs. So there are a limited number of vacancies that are available, and you're competing as well with a whole host of other people. So you might be competing for an apprenticeship, regardless of the level, with someone who's just left school or college, people that are already in employment that are looking to move on in their career progression as well, and existing employees at the company who might be applying internally, knowing that there's a vacancy within their company, and they are competitive. However, do bear in mind, and I know that you'll have gone through this, there will have been a session at university where they talk about what transferable skills you have, and how to conduct yourself in interviews, and really how to make yourself stand out. And that's something as well that I can run over a little bit later, or we can discuss later on, because I've been on both sides of it, so I can give you some information about what it is employers are actually looking for and how to make yourself stand out. So when you are considering, okay, I think I want to do an apprenticeship, I want to maybe change my career pathway, or I want to keep on progressing, I want to do a degree or higher apprenticeship, as much as we would absolutely love you to stay in Leeds, do consider apprenticeships all over the country. Not just the training providers, but where they're located. So, for example, you may have a training provider who's based in Bristol, but they can deliver their apprenticeships all over the country. So just because they might not actually be based here in Leeds, that doesn't mean that you can't do an apprenticeship with them. And the same as you might find that you have to go somewhere for a couple of years to finish your apprenticeship and then come back, because they run all throughout England, and you can apply for these online to anywhere that you want. And there's quite a lot of apprenticeships available in Leeds as well at the higher end degree apprenticeship level. And I'll show you some example live vacancies towards the end. So if you were considering continuing on with your career path, but you couldn't find a level 7 apprenticeship, Or as I've mentioned before, if you were thinking, I'm not really sure I want to consider carrying on with my current pathway. I worked with someone who was a software developer who had gone to university to do psychology, and it wasn't something they wanted to carry on with. I myself did sociology, and it's not something that I now want to continue on with. Consider applying for the slightly lower level apprenticeships. I myself would love to do an apprenticeship, and again, I'll be considering doing a level 3 or a level 4 apprenticeship. With the thing that sparks the most interest in me now, it's not like starting again. It's almost like a bolt-on. It's like an addition. So once you've finished university and you've got your level 6 degree apprenticeship, and you're looking at some apprenticeships that are maybe at a level 3, 4, 5, don't think of that as a step backwards. It might not be a direct progression because you're not doing a level 7, or perhaps finishing that and then thinking I'll do a PhD. It's like an addition, because everything's adding on to your skill set and making your CV grow. And also it can be a really good way of getting into an industry that you've got the most interest in, and then working your way up within that industry as well. When you are considering that you might do a lower level apprenticeship as well, do bear in mind that you can't do a lower level apprenticeship in the same field that you've already studied. Again, for example, if you've done computer science at degree level, you wouldn't be able to do a level 4 or 5, because essentially you've already learned those things at a level 6. But if you've done art history, for example, as a degree, and you decided that your passion actually lay in finance, you could do a level 4, 5 or 6, because that's a completely different subject level. So yeah, just make sure that when you are applying for them, if you think that there's possibly a similarity to what you've already done, ask your training provider to check your university transcript, just to make sure that you are actually eligible to go on to that apprenticeship. So these are the different categories that apprenticeships covered. I used to think it was just construction and the built environment, but as you can see, it's everything from agriculture and animal care, health and science, legal and finance, transports and logistics. So any field that you're considering going into, there's quite possibly an apprenticeship that already covers that. So it's really, really opened up. Apprenticeships aren't what they used to be. Now they're covering everything at every level. And you can go onto the Institute for Apprenticeship website to find out a bit more detail about these pathways. But I'll show you where that link is in another slide. So overall, the benefits in an apprenticeship, what are you going to get? Why should you do an apprenticeship? What benefit is it going to be to you? As I've mentioned, apprenticeships are employment, so you're earning and you're learning at the same time, and you're not paying for that training, so you're not going to have a debt at the end of it. I'm now having to pay back my student loan because my wage is at a certain level, and every month it's not too bad, but I would rather do any more training now and have costs that are co-funded by the government and the employer. When you go into the Institute of Apprenticeships to see what's on offer, it will also have the price of the apprenticeship training programme on there, and that is not something that you have to concern yourself about, because apprenticeships are government funded. They're paid by a combination of the government and the employer. So you don't have to worry about any of that costs. The degree apprenticeships, you will get a full degree out at the end of it without having to pay those student fees. And these apprenticeships as well, it's not that a couple of people in an office have just made up what they think that you should learn. Apprenticeships are designed with employers so that the apprentices can be taught the skills that the employer actually needs them to know to do the job. So it's not an academic institution saying, oh, these are the things that you need to learn to do this job. It's actually the employers and the institutions working together to say, what do we actually need people to know? What do we need you to teach people so that you can apply all this learning to the projects that they give you when you actually start your job. So everything that you're learning, it's all relevant to what you're actually getting paid to do. You do have clear progression throughout companies as well when you start. So companies they're not going to take on an apprentice, for example, if they're not seeing that onward vision, because they're looking at a return on their investment, because they're investing in you. So they're going to want to make sure that you succeed, because they're paying you a full-time wage, but they're losing you for about 1 day a week because you're training, but they know that they're going to get that return on investment with all the knowledge that you bring, and that as they can see your skills developing and growing, and they're going to want to keep a hold of you once they've got you as well. And then once you're with an employer as well and you've completed your apprenticeship, there's going to be other training that's available to you. There might even be some other little bolt-on courses that you can do throughout your apprenticeship, some little free ones online that are going to complement the projects that you're working on, because an employer's really going to, once they've got you, they're going to want to continue on with that learning and that training. And then, yes, ability to gain professional accreditations and memberships. Now, with some apprenticeships, with some degree apprenticeships, they do actually have professional accreditations linked to them. So, for example, I've just made a note of some of them. The Chartered Institute of Marketing, the Institute of Engineering and Technology, and the Association of Chartered Accountants. So depending on what apprenticeship you're doing, they might actually be accredited by that professional body who's gone in and they've had a look at everything that you're going to learn and say, yes, this is up to the standard that we as an institution need people to be at. So you can sometimes gain those professional accreditations alongside the training that you're doing. That doesn't mean to say that if an apprenticeship doesn't have a professional accreditation with it, that it holds less value. It's almost like an additional bonus that some of them do actually have this. And I'll pop on to the next one. So why would businesses take on higher level apprentices, your apprentices at level 4 through to 7? According to the latest labour market information, there is actually a little bit of a gap with highly skilled workforce. So businesses, more and more businesses are opening their doors to taking on apprentices at higher level because they need that highly skilled workforce. They need people that are working in management positions. They need people in positions of decision makers. And they're recognising that what they can do is they can take apprentices on and mould you and shape you to learn what they need you to know for their particular organisation, and that they are going to reap really big return on investment from taking you on as an apprentice at a degree level, anywhere between level 4 or level 7, everything in between. Now, I talked earlier about the transferable skills that you can bring. I grabbed this just at the end of last year from the Forbes list of the top 10 most in-demand skills for the next 10 years. So when you're applying for a job, please do bear in mind all of these soft transferable skills, many of which you'll already be developing, that you can go to an employer with, which is going to help you to stand out when you're applying for the apprenticeship positions. That you do have your digital literacy, that you've possibly already covered some data literacy throughout your degree. You're already on your road to really good critical thinking as part of your the degree that you're doing currently. You're developing that emotional intelligence. All of these good things, all of these time management. Of course, that's going to be one of the first things that you have to learn if you don't already know it when you go to university. Take all these things and bear these in mind when you're making these applications to jobs. Because as I've mentioned, anyone can be taught anything, but these are the things that you pick up as you're going along. In fact, I was talking to a colleague just the other day how we were joking that everyone should work in the retail or the hospitality industry because you learn so much there. Many of you might already be working in these types of positions, and this is where you're picking up things like your time management and being flexible and your critical thinking, etc. And when you're applying for positions as an apprentice as well, Do your research about a company. Companies love having their egos rubbed. So if you can sit down in front of an employer at an interview and they say, well, why should I take you on as my apprentice? If you can say, because this about the company, I want to work with you because of this, I want to work with you because of that, this is what you can offer me and this is what I can offer you, and really merge those things in. This is what businesses are looking for. So let's pop over to as next slide about pathways. Now, let's say, for example, you've completed any degree, absolutely any degree, and the way that the world is at the moment, you perhaps might have got passionate about social injustices, let's just say, for example, and you absolutely love doing essays. I was never a big fan of them, but if it's something that you love doing and it's easy for you and you can quite happily roll off 10,000 words of an evening, and you might have been thinking, well, I want to write about stuff that's going on. I could be a journalist, or I'd love to be a reporter. I want to be that person, you know, who's bringing all news reports to someone, or I want to be an editor. I want to be a book editor. You can use that degree and do a level 7 in senior journalism. Then you can, these are all the different jobs that are then open to you from after you've got that degree. You do that level 7 as a senior journalist. You can be a journalist, you can be a reporter, you can be an editor. And these are really nice pathways that historically didn't exist. You would have had to have gone down the university route, and they're all opened up to you now by doing an apprenticeship. Moving on to engineering and manufacturing, once you've got your BEng or your BSc, and you're thinking, well, I want to go into engineering and I want to be a manager in engineering, or I want to be a QA engineer, research engineer, then you can achieve these by doing a postgraduate engineer level 7. So you don't have to go back and do your master's at university. You could apply to do that level 7 apprenticeship and be all those things that you're thinking that you want to be. The various pathways, you can see them through the Institute for Apprenticeship website, which I do show you the link to just a little bit later on. And here we are. So finding out more information, obviously I can only give you so much in a short period of time, but you can find out who offers apprenticeships at apprenticeshipsinleeds.co.uk. You can find out more at our website, Employment Skills Leeds, and have a search on the Institute for Apprenticeships.org. Now, this is like the Bible for training providers. All the standards, and there are about 800 standards, are on there. So you can search for a particular apprenticeship that you want to do, and you can find out who's offering that apprenticeship. You can then go onto that training provider's website and find out if they've got any vacancies available. Or if you find an apprenticeship, you can read more into it by going to the Institute for Apprenticeships. If you've seen a business, maybe KPMG are doing an apprenticeship and you want to know a bit more about it, you can go onto the Institute for Apprenticeships, find out about that apprenticeship standard and read more details into what's actually going to be on offer. What am I going to be learning? What are the entry requirements? And how long is it going to take me to help you weigh up that option of that's something you want to do or not? Also, if there's any particular employers that you want to work for or training providers that you would like to give you that provision, do get on social media and follow them and engage with them, especially on LinkedIn as well. And I'm sure you guys have all heard of LinkedIn. If you haven't, do get yourself a LinkedIn account. It's where businesses are, it's where they're updating information, and it's where they are looking as well to see what else is happening out there in the industry, and you can get a gauge and a good idea about what different companies are like by following them. And then you might possibly be on someone's radar as well if you're interested in possibly working with a company as well. So that's where you can find information. Now this is where you can find vacancies. So if you pop onto the Gov website, apply apprenticeships, you'll find loads and loads of vacancies there. As a training provider, it is where we would automatically advertise any vacancies that we had. It was the first place. Not everyone does, but you will find the bulk of vacancies there. You can literally type into a search bar, find an apprenticeship, and the .gov website will come up. It's got a good filtering process in there as well, so you can put the different types of level apprenticeship that you might be interested in and the area as well. And then you can, in the sector, you can search by sector just to give you a flavour of what's actually out there. Now, really, really big companies, they perhaps only advertise on their own company website. That's what I'd say, the government website. Not everyone advertises it through there. So British Gas, Yorkshire Water, for example, they might only advertise their vacancies on their own website, and that might be to ensure that they're getting applicants from people who are genuinely interested in that company, because like I said earlier, the employers like to know that you're coming because you want to work for their company. Also, we've got the UCAS website, has some information there about understanding apprenticeships and not going to uni. For some people, the university might not be an option, or it might be something that they've changed their mind about. Not going to uni, it's got a lot of good vacancies out there as well, and a lot of information about different options should you change your mind about going to university. You know, if you've been a college leaver, or at any time for whatever reason university might not be working out for you, there's lots of information there. And again, more vacancies, more apprenticeship vacancies. So with all that said, on the run up to the Leeds Apprenticeship Recruitment Fair, it's on Monday the 6th of February at the First Direct Arena between 2 in the afternoon and 8 at night. You can scan the QR code here to book your tickets. Tickets are free, or you can follow the link at the bottom if you want to type that into your search bars. Tickets are free, and you'll get to choose an hour slot that you want to go to, because obviously it's so popular. It's been running for about 10 years now, and it's an incredibly popular event. There are over 100 exhibitors, and it does get really packed out. So do remember to book your ticket. You wouldn't be able to get in on the door without your free ticket. It is free, takes 2 minutes to book yourself in, and then you'll get an email to confirm that you've got your ticket, and you will also be emailed the exhibitor guide so that you can be really well prepared and know what to expect and who's going to be there, which I'll cover again in a couple of slides. So let's move on to the next one. So I'm assuming that everybody's got their phone out, they've scanned the QR code and made a note of the website there. And if you need me to go back to this at the end, I can bring this back up again. So here's just a quick overview of a very small handful of companies that are going to be there. We've got manufacturing companies, we've got hairdressers, we've got the NHS is coming, the horse racing college, we've got some accountants coming. There's a whole big host of everyone from every industry is going to be represented there. And with it, they're going to have some live vacancies. Now, I did say earlier that we would pop in to give you an example of what's actually out there right now in Leeds. And Leeds Teaching Hospital has an apprenticeship for a medical engineering apprentice. Sorry, I'm just trying to see the screen. I've got everyone in the corner there, so I couldn't read that all. So the Leeds Teaching Hospital NHS Trust, they currently have a vacancy for a medical engineering apprentice at a level 4. And what the information is here in the brackets is that they're at stand 50, row E. And I'll show you in the next slide how the exhibition is laid out. QA, they're a training provider that are coming. They've currently got an opening for a cybersecurity apprentice at level 6. They're at stand 63, row F. Sheffield Hallam University, as the provider, they've got an opening for a project management quantity surveyor. Now, the job wouldn't be with QA or Sheffield Hallam University. They're the provider. Those are the people that are coming to advertise on behalf of an employer. And KPMG, I'm sure everyone's probably heard of KPMG, huge big finance company. They've got a level 7 opening for an apprentice doing auditing, consulting and tax accountancy. Not all in the one. Those are 3 different openings that they have, but they are all at level 7. So if you wanted to go along, if you were interested in continuing your finance degree and you wanted to do a level 7, pop along to KPMG and find out a little bit more about what they've got on offer. They're at 92H. So let's have a look at the floor plan. So I don't know if you've been to the First Direct arena. But as you go in on the ground level, you'll go down the side and into the entranceway, and you can see here all the different rows that we've got, which all the providers are on. Some of them have got quite small stands, some of them have got quite big stands, but it's all laid out in a logical way that makes it easier for you to find who you actually want to go see. In your apprenticeship guide that you'll get once you've booked your ticket, everyone's listed A to Z, and then also people are listed within their sectors as well. So if you were interested in finance and you did want to go and see KPMG or BHP Chartered Accountants, you'd be able to go straight away to that stand if that's who you wanted to talk to. With regards to discussions and having these chats with people, before you actually book your time slot, I want you to have a look at the discussion panel bar that we've got on this year. So we have representatives from a few different sectors. So if you did want to, if you were interested in legal and finance, for example, there is a talk in the FD bar upstairs from First Institution, Jet2, HSBC, Luminate and Kirk Newsome to talk about the apprenticeships that they have, to talk about why they're interested in apprenticeships, why they take on apprentices, and why it's a benefit for both the employer and the person who's learning as well. So it is worth bearing these in mind when you come to have a look at, see what time you want to book your ticket for. This is a really good experience of getting to chat to some people a little bit quieter and away from the main hall as well. And making the most out of the fair as well. So check that visitor guide for who's exhibiting, what sector you're interested in, and research these employers as well. Have a look and see, get a look in and see what these employers are offering. Get on their websites, find out a bit more about them, and check the vacancy list as well. As you go into the fair, I'm just going to bob back to a couple of slides ago. As you go into the entrance, there's going to be a big screen that's going to be displaying the current vacancies that are available at the moment. Now, if you don't see anything on there that strikes you, ask about it. If there's a particular employer that you want to work for and you can't see that they've got any vacancies that align with what you want to do, talk to them about it, have those discussions, and see what they might have coming up towards in a few months' time, or possibly towards the end of the year if they don't have anything right now. Over there on the left-hand side where it says exit over to the left, there's also going to be a big screen displaying what's happening upstairs in the FD bar at the panel discussions as well. So there's lots of information going on. You can see over here on the right on the pink stalls, these are the help zones. So that's going to be representatives from Leeds City Council, from us at the Apprenticeship Hub, and from National Career Service. So if you want to ask someone for some impartial advice, come over, see us, say hi. Back to making the most out of the affair as well. Do speak to the employers about their current opportunities and anything that might be coming up. Do have a look at what panel discussions are going on and pop along to them. And also, if an employer doesn't have an apprenticeship or a vacancy, ask if they'll make one for you. Quite often, an employer, if they think that someone really aligns with what their company wants and the vision that their company has, they'll carve something out for you. They'll create a position. I have historically worked with a company who only had one opening and they couldn't choose between who they wanted to employ. So they just made an entire new job and an entire new apprenticeship for someone because they wanted both of those people to come and work for those companies. And speak to as many people as you can, even if it's something that you weren't necessarily think that you might be interested in, or a company that might not be right for you. Have a chat with them, find out what opportunities they've got. You never know. And if you've got them, get some business cards. If you don't have them, no worries. Get your phone out and connect with them on LinkedIn. Get connected with people on LinkedIn and get seen on an employer's LinkedIn. So if you want to find out a little bit more information about us, what we do here at the Employment Hub at Leeds City Council, you can follow us on the socials, go onto our website and ask for more information. So thank you very much, everyone. I've left a little bit shorter time for any questions. Apologies for that. Does anyone have any burning questions that they want to ask on the back of all the information that I've given you?
Oh, well, thanks, Fiona. That was great. We've had some questions in the chat
Okay.
as well. Well, we've been asked, does it mean as a level 6 graduate you can apply to level 7 in the same field?
Yes, you can, because it's a progression, because you're going from your level 6 up to your level 7. So it's really lovely and complementary. If you've done a level 6 in finance and you want to take that on further, yeah, you can do a level 7 with KPMG. Absolutely.
And we were also asked about the Gov website showing the apprenticeships. I know both you and Simon have gone over this, but just to reinstate, it's important to check companies' own websites.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, absolutely. Not everyone puts their vacancies on the government apprenticeship site. So check especially big companies, check them, because as I've said before, they might want to ensure that they're only getting people that want to work for them. So they want people that are doing their own research and having a look at that company, because when you're on a company's website, you're going to be having a look around to see what they've got to say for themselves, maybe some projects that they've worked on, all about them, to get a flavour for them, and that's where they're advertised. So you've got the likes of Yorkshire Water and Leeds City Council. Leeds City Council have got lots of apprenticeship opportunities open at the moment as well, and the NHS, if you really want to work for the NHS as well, get on their websites and see what they've got.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And we got an update just to let us know that the salary for the HSBC degree apprenticeship was 24k, the one that was closing in December 22, from Cassia. And then I'll just have a check. And then Fatima has asked, I'm a recent graduate and would like to know, are there any apprenticeships in biomedical sciences and what level would be best?
Okay, so you're interested in biomedical sciences, you want to see if there's any apprenticeships out there that will align with what you want to do. I'm assuming you want to continue on with that studying, so you might be looking at doing a level 7. Get yourself onto the NHS website and the Find an Apprenticeship website, the Gov website as well, and use that filtering facility to find out what's out there. So the filtering can be a little bit clunky, so you might have to change your wording a little bit. But have a look there in the first instance to see if there's anything that aligns. Your filtering you can do by sector, you can do by level. So if you're only interested in the continuation of what you're currently doing, click on that you're interested in level 7, and you can put a national search as well to see if you're absolutely determined that that is the route that you want to go down. If it's not offered with an employer within Leeds, look for a national search and see if there's anything out there. You can also as well, if there's a particular company that you think you might want to continue with, have a look on a company website, Google who does biomedicine, and have a look at the companies, look on their websites and see if they've got anything on offer. And you can also go on to the Institute for Apprenticeships. You can do an apprenticeship search. Again, you're going to have a filtering option coming up, and you can have a look at the sector for medicine and healthcare. You can have a look at level 7s, and you can see what apprenticeships are on offer. If you find the one that you think that aligns with what I want to do, that's where I want to be in my career, click on it. You'll find all the information about the things that you're going to learn. You'll also find the training providers. If you click and have a look at who the training providers are, you can see if they've actually got any opportunities. So it's a slightly longer way of doing it, but from the Institute of Apprenticeships, you can find an apprenticeship that you're thinking, that's where I want to be, that's where I want to head for. Find the training provider, go into the training provider's website and have a look and see what opportunities they've got available, and pick up the phone and give them a call or email them, and ask them if they think they're going to have anything coming up. Ask if you can get kept on their books. So if they've got anything that might align with what you're wanting to do, then you're already there, you're already on their radar.
Thank you, Fiona. And thank you, Simon, as well, for saying in the chat it's a good idea to come and talk to the NHS and the unis directly at the apprenticeship fair.
Absolutely.
Which is a really good idea. There's
Do
just a
come
couple
along.
more questions if you've
Yeah,
got time.
absolutely.
Amazing. Are jobs advertised as trainee positions also apprenticeships?
No, traineeships are different from apprenticeships, much the same as apprenticeships are different from graduate schemes. So, for example, some companies offer graduate schemes, and they are only open to people who are graduates, who've finished their degree, they are an undergraduate, and whereas apprenticeships are open to anyone. So there's a lot less barriers there for moving into an apprenticeship. Whereas if for any reason you weren't able to finish your degree that you're currently doing, if you don't complete it, you wouldn't be able to become a graduate necessarily, but you could go on and do an apprenticeship, and it'll be the same for like traineeships as well. They're all ever so slightly different, and they offer different options for you. I'm really sorry if anyone can hear that. My dog is snoring. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. And then someone asked, is it possible to do an apprenticeship while pursuing your bachelor's degree? But Simon has said that if you've already started at university, then that's not possible. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. You can't do both at the same time. So you wouldn't be able to be an apprentice and be a student at the same time. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is the practicality of time, and because as a student you're at university full time, and as an apprentice you're at a job full time, and it generally is, Monday to Friday, 9 through 5, with a bit of flexibility. So, and also you can't be an apprentice whilst you're already studying, because an apprenticeship is a formal government training programme. So you can't do both. It's got to be one or the other.
Thank you. And
Okay.
we have one last question from Georgina, who says, sometimes Leeds City Council and West Yorkshire Police advertise career grade roles. Do you know if these are apprenticeships?
I don't off the top of my head. They're advertising career grade roles.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head if those are. The best thing that you could do to get that answer, I'm afraid that it's not something I can answer, is give them a call and find out. Have a look on their website and get a bit more information about what it is that they're actually offering, or give them a call and find out. And if it's something that you're interested in doing, and it doesn't quite align with perhaps where you're at in your career, have a chat with them and see what else that they've got on offer.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.
Sarah saw a hand for a second then. Was there anyone that wanted to say anything? Sorry.
Yes, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, Simon.
Yeah, it was me. It was just to add to that, for it to be a fully funded apprenticeship, it has to be advertised as an apprenticeship. So if it doesn't say apprenticeship, the likelihood is it is not a fully funded apprenticeship.
Yes, really good point. Thank you very much for that. It's something that had come up with training providers advertising on the government website. It has to say this. There was something that was really emphasised towards the end of last year. The title, as Simon says, it has to have apprenticeship in the title, for it to be that fully funded proper apprenticeship that is funded by the government, that's going to lead you to that apprenticeship qualification. So do bear that in mind when you're making any applications as an apprentice. There is actually an apprenticeship scheme that you're going on to.
Thank you.
Is that all questions? I am aware that we've just gone over 12 o'clock, so some people might be skipping out now.
That's okay, if you have time to answer.
Absolutely.
It's just, is a level 7 apprenticeship still suitable for a level 7 graduate with no previous work experience?
So someone who's already done a level 7?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes. So if you've done your master's and you've got your level 7 and you wanted to do a level 7 apprenticeship, you could still do that as long as it's not in the same field, as I'd mentioned before. So you couldn't do an apprenticeship in like as an engineering if you've done the same master's level 7 in engineering, and it's because you can't be paid to learn the same thing again. If it's something different that you want to do, it would depend really on what the employer needed of you and what the apprenticeship needed you to already know. So you'll be asked about current skills, knowledge and behaviours, and this is why the Institute for Apprenticeships is really good. If you've completed your Master's Level 7, you wanted to do another Level 7 in a slightly different field, and you wanted to go straight in, it would really have a look at what the apprenticeship is you're interested in. So for example, if I wanted to do a Level 7 in senior leadership, I would need to perhaps have maybe a couple of years experience in some sort of management role already to be able to move up and do that Level 7. So it's not something like, for example, Heather wouldn't be able to do a Level 7 as a senior leader because she didn't have any experience as in a management role, but it's someone who's a bit more advanced in their career and does have a bit more work experience under their belt, then that's something that would be a lot more open to them. But again, have these conversations with an employer, because you might not have the experience that they're looking for, but if you've got the acumen and the passion, then it's certainly worth having a chat to see if there's any leeway with that.
Thank you, Fiona.
I hope that helps.
I think that is everything. Has anyone got any more questions? Are we all good? Okay, well,
just going to skip back really quickly to the apprenticeship fair. So before you go, if you haven't already, have a scan of the QR code. There's your web address. Do come along. We're really looking forward to seeing you there. It's going to be proving to be once again a really amazing event. We've got over 100 exhibitors there. Everyone's going to be really excited to see you. It's a whole day event. There's the panel discussions as well. There's lots of information to be had. And once you've booked your free ticket, as I say, you'll get the digital copy of the visitor's guide, so you can really prepare yourself to get the most out of this day.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
And thank you for joining us today. I will be following up with an email that has a link to this recording that will be on our YouTube for you to watch again or share forward. And there will also be a survey which we would really appreciate if you could complete. It will just be a quick survey to help see how the session went and what we could deliver in future that could be helpful to you too. So thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you on the 6th. Bye.